Ellie's Invisible Art Museum. Ellie was a quiet girl. She didn't talk much in class. She didn't run around shouting at recess. She liked to sit under the big tree and think. Ellie was gentle and a little shy, but inside her head, there was a world full of magic. Ellie loved to draw, but not on paper. She didn't use pencils, markers, or crayons. She didn't like erasers or messy paint. Ellie used her finger and the air. She would stand still, wave her finger slowly, and draw in the air around her. She made glowing stars, big purple dragons, silver rainstorms, and dancing trees. Nobody else could see them, but Ellie could. She called them her invisible paintings. No mess, no rules, just me, she whispered with a smile. Every day after school, Ellie made more invisible art. She painted with her finger in the kitchen. She painted behind the couch. She painted while brushing her teeth. Sometimes, she would twirl her hands and draw a whole story in the sky. When her parents asked, "What are you doing?" she said, "Just drawing my invisible museum." They smiled and let her be. Because even though no one else could see her art, Ellie saw something beautiful. At recess, the playground was loud and busy. Kids ran, kids shouted. Balls flew through the air. Laughter bounced everywhere. But Ellie didn't run. She stood near the fence, quiet and still. With one finger, she began to draw in the air. She waved her arms in big, slow circles. She traced loops, stars, and zigzags. Her eyes sparkled as she imagined a flying whale with rainbow wings. Some kids stopped and stared. "Is she dancing?" one asked. "No, she's just being weird," said another, and they ran off. Ellie didn't mind. She wasn't being weird. She was painting. Painting clouds made of cotton candy. Painting tiny castles that floated in bubbles. Painting things no one could see except her. Her best friend, Milo, walked over and watched for a while. "What are you doing?" he asked. Ellie kept moving her hands in the air. "I'm drawing," she said softly. Milo tilted his head. "I don't see anything." Ellie smiled. "You're not supposed to." He frowned. "Why don't you draw on paper like everyone else?" She shrugged and twirled her finger. "Some art lives in the air." Milo blinked. "That's kinda cool." Ellie gave a small smile. Her drawings weren't in a notebook or on a wall, but they were real to her. They always had been. And soon, they'd be real to others too. It was Monday morning in Ms. Maple's class. The kids were chatting and giggling as they unpacked their backpacks. Ms. Maple stood at the front of the room, holding a bright blue poster. She clapped her hands. "Listen up, artists! I have exciting news!" The room got quiet. "We're having a school art fair next week," she said, smiling big. Cheers and claps filled the room. Ms. Maple continued. "Every student will make something to show. It can be a painting, a sculpture, a clay model, or even a collage made from buttons and leaves." Kids jumped with excitement. "I'm going to paint a dragon," said Max. "I'll make a glitter castle," said Nia. "I want to build a robot out of cardboard," shouted Josh. Everyone buzzed with big ideas. Everyone except Ellie. Ellie sat very still. She stared at her desk. She didn't smile. She didn't clap. She felt a tight little knot in her tummy. Ms. Maple walked around the classroom handing out papers. "Think about what you want to make," she said. "This is your chance to show the whole school your art." Ellie bit her lip. She didn't use paper or paint. She didn't have glue or glitter. Her art didn't fit in boxes. It flew, it twirled, it sparkled in the air. It was invisible. Ellie looked at her fingers. Just this morning, she had drawn a glowing butterfly in the sky while walking to school. But no one saw it, and now, how could she show that at an art fair? "What if I have nothing to show?" she whispered. Milo, sitting next to her, leaned over and said, "You can think of something, Ellie. You always make cool stuff. Ellie gave a tiny smile, but inside, she felt unsure. This wasn't just drawing in the air at recess. This time, everyone would be watching. After school, Ellie sat at the kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper in front of her. Her mom placed a box of crayons and markers beside her. "You can draw something for the art fair," her mom said gently. "Maybe your beautiful sky pictures?" Ellie nodded slowly. She picked up a blue crayon. She tried to draw a glowing moon, like the one she painted in the air last night, but it didn't look right. She added stars. Then she added clouds, but the page looked messy, not magical. Ellie frowned. She crumpled up the paper and reached for a new one. This time, she tried a dragonone with fire wings and a swirly tail, just like the one she drew in the wind last week. But the tail came out bumpy. The wings weren't wide enough. "This isn't my art," she whispered. She pushed the drawing away and laid her head on the table. She felt frustrated and small. She wanted to join the art fair, she really did. But her pictures weren't meant for paper. They lived in the air in swishes, twirls, and spins. They glowed inside her heart and danced on her fingertips. No crayon could catch them. No pencil was right. That night, Ellie looked out her window at the stars. She moved her fingers slowly through the air, painting a glowing owl with giant wings. No one could see it but her, but it felt real. It felt right. "Why can't the world see this?" she asked softly. She curled under her blanket, hugging her knees. "I want to show them, but I don't know how." She closed her eyes and wished for an answer, one that would help her share her invisible art. One that would let people see the world the way she saw it. Milo sat on the floor, watching Ellie twirl around the room. She moved her hands through the air like she was painting the sky. Her eyes sparkled, but her face looked a little sad. He tilted his head. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. Ellie stopped and pointed to the empty wall. "There's a big lion here," she whispered. "It's roaring, but no one can hear it." Milo looked. There was nothing there, just a blank wall. "But I can hear it," she said with a small smile. Milo's eyes lit up. "That's it!" he shouted. "What if we make your invisible museum real?" Ellie blinked. "How?" Milo grabbed a notebook. "We can set up a gallery, but instead of paintings, we write what the artwork looks like. Just the words!" Ellie gasped. "Like a picture made from sentences?" "Yes," Milo grinned. "We'll write signs that describe each piece. People will close their eyes and imagine the art." Ellie clapped her hands. "And we can give the pieces names, like the roaring lion or the dancing stars." They spent the next hour scribbling ideas, giggling, and placing papers on the walls. To anyone else, the room still looked empty. But to Milo and Ellie, it was full of wild lions, flying fish, and magical trees. Their invisible museum had come alive. The school art fair was busy. Kids were showing paintings, drawings, and clay animals. Bright colors were everywhere, but Ellie's booth looked empty. There were no pictures on the walls. Just ropes, like in a real museum, and little white signs with fancy names. Glowing moonstorm over a silver lake, tiny jellyfish marching to school, the flying garden that sings. People walked by and stared. "Where's the art?" one boy asked. "Did she forget to hang it up?" someone whispered. Ellie stood straight and smiled. She took a deep breath. "No," she said. "The art is invisible. But if you listen, I'll help you see it." The boy frowned. "How?" Ellie pointed to the sign that said, "Glowing moonstorm over a silver lake." She held out her hands and moved them slowly. "Close your eyes," she said. "Imagine a dark lake. The moon is full and huge. Now light shoots across the sky, but it's not lightning, it's moonlight, swirling like silver wind." People began to close their eyes. She moved to the next one. "This one is tiny jellyfish. They have backpacks and little shoes. They're marching to school under the sea." Giggles filled the booth. Milo watched from the corner, smiling wide. More and more people came over. Some looked confused at first, But then they listened. They smiled. Some even clapped. Ellie danced between the signs, telling each story with her hands, her voice, and her big imagination. No one asked, "Where's the art?" anymore. They could all see it in their minds. Ellie's booth didn't need paper or paint. She made magic out of nothing but words. And for the first time ever, she felt seen. After the crowd left, the room grew quiet again. Ellie stood by her booth, her hands still and calm. She looked around at the empty ropes and tiny signs. No paint, no clay, but still smiles. Then Ms. Maple, the art teacher, stepped forward. She had been watching from a distance. Ms. Maple knelt beside Ellie and smiled warmly. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "Your art made me feel like I was floating in the stars." Ellie's eyes went wide. "Even though you couldn't see it?" Ms. Maple nodded. "Art doesn't have to be seen to be felt," she said. "You helped us imagine, and that's a special kind of magic." Milo ran up beside them, grinning. "Told you she was amazing." Ellie laughed quietly. She felt her cheeks warm up. She didn't need paper. She didn't need to draw like everyone else. She just needed her mind and her courage. Ellie looked at her booth one more time. People hadn't just looked. They had listened, imagined. They had believed. And that was enough. Back at home, Ellie opened her bedroom door. She taped a new sign right above her desk. Ellie's Museum of the Invisible and Imaginative. Underneath, she added tiny words. "Come in, close your eyes, let your mind paint." She didn't need a big crowd. She didn't need to prove anything. But now, when she moved her hands in the air, people didn't just walk by. They stopped. They watched. And they asked, "What are you painting today, Ellie?" Sometimes she told them about flying turtles wearing hats. Other times, a city made of bubbles, or a mountain that sneezed when it snowed. They always laughed, and they always listened. Ellie was still quiet. But she wasn't afraid to share anymore, because she knew something important. Art is about feeling, not just seeing. Imagination Matters 7, if no one else sees it yet. Every voice, quiet or loud, deserves to be heard. And Ellie's Voice is Soft as It Was Shad painted the loudest picture of all. Follow for more magical stories about brave hearts and big imaginations. Subscribe for more adventures where creativity has no limits.